We are there.
The holiday cheer edition of BS&BEER Canada.
Holiday cheer. Well, we'll give everybody a few minutes and then we'll have to kick the show off.
Yep. Oh, whoa. A little too much rum in that eggnog. Well, I
What
think it's too.
what's
I
what's
didn't
your
give it a
ratio?
stir.
Are you closing your
Ti
eyes and just letting it
oh
go?
no, so that's a good question. So typically it's always a third rum, because typically it should be a third rum, a third of either Coke or ginger ale, and then water. So you press it
Yeah.
because you need to be having a good water ratio in your beverages. So my father taught me to have a pressed drink. So it sounds super fancy, but really you're saving your liver and the hangover the next day. But then having two-thirds rum, or sorry, two-thirds of eggnog makes for a pretty
It's
thick
thick. It's a thick
oatmeal
drink.
beverage.
So let's scale it up. You're doing a pint glass. It's the same ratio, or
Oh
you
yeah.
tend to do a
So
conservative
no, yeah.
glass size.
So typically three fingers is you're usually the mark. So all I
Two
can say
fingers, Sean.
Um, let's this thing's now. That's how much left is in here.
Yeah.
But don't worry, guys. I got the next bottle to start, so
Oh,
we're
there
good.
you go.
So
See,
we're good.
I was really worried for a minute.
That there's always good rum selection in the Saint Amour household, both my dad and myself. I have learned to keep that stock, especially during the holiday season. On that note, should we kick off the show, guys?
Let's do it.
We we should probably kick off the show. So this is the first Christmas show I've been on that I've actually been a host for. So that's kind of crazy. Yeah. So let's do this. Connor, you're are you kind of like the Scrooge of the group where you're all black?
Is that because I'm from Ontario? Probably. Yeah, I
No, no,
just came off.
well, I mean, you said it, so we'll just go with that.
I just came off the site, so I'm wearing all of my black leather construction gear. We still got my boots on, so
That is totally fair. I just had to tease you a little bit because Sean is looking very festive. He's got the killer suit. Uh, yeah. But I have been told already this evening that my Flash Me shirt matches very nicely with my Christmas shirt.
It
So
does. Yeah.
nice. Anyways, Beer Canada, everybody. This is our holiday special. This evening, I am finishing, well, you can't see it, a very nice black Swift Syrah from Kelowna. But don't worry. When the Syrah's gone, I will be transitioning to a blonde ale made in Nakawik, New Brunswick, which is about as close to local to Grand Manan as you can get. And I'm not even 100% sure what we're talking about on this show, but we are celebrating our year. And we're going to talk a little bit about next year. And I think Mr. Saint Amour can probably allude to what's going to happen this evening just a little bit more than me. On to you, Sean.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Aaron Jones of Big Dog Construction. It is happy to not only see you two friendly faces, but everyone else that's here with us tonight. I'm Sean St. Amour, hanging out in Vancouver, which, of course, you guys know is located on the West Coast, right about there, in climate zone 4. So mild climate, and it is definitely mild so far this winter. I don't think we will get snow down at the beach. The mountains have got a little bit. Skiing is open in Whistler in the coastal mountains, and we've definitely had a lot of rain so far. I'm the VP of operations at Clay Construction, so we've had a great year building some high performance and connecting with our community here. I'm also part of the Haven, which is the local CHBA association here in Vancouver, and also get to hang out with these gentlemen and with Gina and Lori and whoever else shows up. So thank you very much for everyone attending. I am going with, and if you missed it, I've got, you can't see how much rum and eggnog I have in here. And as Connor said, how much? but I will say that it is definitely a good beverage in my new Proclima thermal insulated cup. So thank you to Proclima for not only keeping our homes airtight, but keeping this drink nice and cold. So appreciate it. And I have to mention too, because a lot of us are looking for sustainable options. Flora Decana is now, this is a 12-year-old. It is a carbon neutral certified rum. So fair trade certified. So again, even managing my carbon footprint with my rum and eggnog. So unfortunately, I'm sure there's some methane being produced by the cows for the eggnog, but you know what? At least the rum is making up for things. So maybe, Connor, the ratio should change to imagine, take care of the carbon footprint. So everyone, happy holidays to you and your family. I hope you had a good year. And we're going to dive into soon is hopefully your 2024 is looking pretty good. So cheers to everyone.
So before I get started, Sean, when you said eggnog, I said cows. I'm like, don't you mean chickens? I'm like, oh, no. It's egg flavored from cows. It's milk based. I got it. It's been a long day. I am Connor Malloy. I'm a builder and educator in Toronto. That's in Ontario. Teacher at George Brown College. This is a carpentry program, really teaching the principles of building. And part of that involves building science, whether you're framing or doing interiors, doing rough-ins, electrical, cutting penetrations through envelopes. It's really threaded through, really how we build and how we build better. And I'm really happy to be here once a month with all of you, have a great conversation, really talk about what we're doing well and sharing our successes so we can all learn collectively together. Everything I've learned from other people. So we don't often come up with new things. We often share what we learn in this, what this platform is for. So it's nice to see you all. That's it. That's it.
I
for
would
me.
add to just what Connor just said. So sorry to cut you off, Connor.
Go for it.
But yeah, much the same as Connor. I haven't had an original idea since, I don't know, 1973. But you learn stuff from other people, and occasionally you have the opportunity to take what you've learned, made it better. And that's where we all grow, is when you have that little aha moment where you tweak that thing that you learned from Connor or Sean, and you made it just that little bit better, and then you throw it back out there to everybody else in the industry, and we all grow just that little tiny bit. And that's probably the beautiful part about our community.
Yeah.
Now, Connor, I mean, I've been loving, one of the fun things of this year is all the projects that we all get to be involved in. But I have to say, your drone footage and the updates is fantastic. So, do you want to just give us a bit of an update of where you're at? And unfortunately, that lovely air barrier and vapor barrier that's also green has now been covered up.
Yeah, so I'm building a personal project in it's a couple hours north of Toronto, and what's really fun about, I mean, I can almost call myself a retired builder because I left building full time to teach full time, but getting back to site and putting a pouch on a couple times a week and working with the team that we're partnering up there there's nothing really better. But what we're trying to do is push the envelope in this area of Ontario. Our project is almost passive. It's a little bit better than pretty good. We're kind of in the middle. And for us, that's a great place to kind of really push the details and look at what is possible. So we're building a single family house. It's pretty darn simple. It's a rectangle. It's 24 by 60. It's 2 stories. It follows some principles of a really simple envelope that's easy to detail. We're using products that are sensitive to climate. The garage is detached for air barrier integrity and also indoor air quality. We are doubling and tripling the R values required by code and really looking at reducing the amount of foam and plastics that we require. And as much as building science for me is the goal here, the other kind of goal we have, Sean, is looking at accessibility. We're trying to build a home that is a 100-year plus structure, and we will be only one owner of this building on that property. And although we are able-bodied people at the moment, we might not be in 20 years, and the next owner might not be as well. So it's been really interesting trying to build, thermal bridge-free details at door sills and windows, but take the sill away And when you're learning how PHPP works, I got really frustrated knowing that an elevator doesn't count towards TFA. All of these things are kind of learning for me. It's the importance of doing, right? This idea of like reading how to dance and dancing are two different things. So getting back onto a site and seeing what it's like to work with Stego when it's -10 and tapes that work when it's snowing and it's wet has been really fun. So it's been a good thing to do.
Yeah, love that project. And hey, we got our foreign correspondent, and he's brought a sidekick, Mr. Bob Kelly. Mr. Mark Willie's in the house. How you doing, Mark?
I'm enjoying listening to the one and only Connor Malloy. I tell you, like, you had me at this is what we're doing here, and this is why. And I am about to jump into an Uber for the company party. So see you later, eh?
See you,
Say
Mark.
hi to Bob for us.
Yeah.
Is Bob behind you?
Hi.
Hi, Bob.
How you doing? Good to see you.
You too.
Now,
I love it.
We're taking
Bob
an
yet.
Uber.
We gotta go, guys.
Before I go, I want to show you what's on Bob's fridge.
Yes. Fun stickers of our good friends across the pond. Some purple love there to Adam and Alex White of
Definitely.
Engagement Marines. Great stuff. All right, gentlemen, have fun tonight. Do anything that I
Did you
wouldn't
guys
do.
notice it was like a classic builder moment? Bob had his like Milwaukee top up on the counter and everything was plugged into it charging.
Yeah, if you don't know Wick Wright, check it out. Amazing details. And I mean, you talk about how to make buildings better in Chicago. He is doing such an amazing job. So great job, Bob. And you know, those guys are
If
too
you
much.
have a parpet on your building, you need to have a conversation with Bob. That's just the way it is.
Yeah, I mean, this is what's fun about our community. I mean, maybe I'll just kind of share another highlight is just how this community is about collaboration and growth and growing the pie and having these great conversations. Because, you know, being able to connect with people around the world and people like Bob that are specialists in Chicago type buildings and dealing with roofs that have eroded because of bad building science, and for him to be able to take over a project, tarp it, take, you know, all the elements away from a Chicago job site, wins and all that stuff, create an environment for his trades and his team to work as smoothly as they possibly can under the elements, dealing with removal of roof and parapets that have failed. It's just crazy impressive of the stuff that he does. And again, just that whole collaboration, you know, again, I'm in Vancouver. You guys are, you know, across Canada, and to be able to do this has just been, you know, fantastic. So it's great that
Yeah.
we're able to collaborate and grow.
It is pretty amazing. And, you know, Sean, like you said, he's in Vancouver. He's on the Pacific. I'm in the Bay of Fundy, like literally in the middle of the Bay of Fundy. And Bob is, you know, a little south and a little west. And he has got an incredible system. And I don't really know what's more impressive. His approach of how he deals with the situations he ends up in, where he's got the system down where the entire building gets tented, or just how he actually solves the problem. I'm going to say go check it out because a little bit of A and a little bit of B. Either way, you're going to be impressed.
Yeah, I mean, you being a flashing
And
person,
Connor,
like,
you've been killing it on it. Oh, yeah, 100%.
yeah, the products that he's created, and then like he's one of those people is like, well, instead of just making one, I'm sure the next project's going to need it, and he's done enough where he's like, yeah, I'm going to make 100 of these because I'm going to need them for the next 10 houses. And so now his garage of all this inventory of amazing flashing and different ventilation type of products that he's developed because no one had on the market. And so he's like, I'm just going to make it myself, and now has, you know, an entirely a company of just sales of really good designs for managing parapet processes because everyone in Chicago needs it. And so he's now a supplier and you know, a contractor, and really experienced about making buildings better. Like, yeah, I mean, I've never seen water flow out of a building before until I seen a presentation of Bob where he's drilled in a hole into a brick wall, and it literally was like opening a valve because it just had so much water in that stone. Like again,
For the record, that hole was drilled at the top of the wall. So the water was not flowing downhill. The water flowed out of the top of the wall. And once you understand that, you have a drop of the waterfall of knowledge of the Bob Kelly.
love it. See, the foreign perspective, it never goes away. You know, you think they're gone, and then they just pop in with great information. Love it. Don't go too far, you guys.
From the back of an Uber somewhere in Chicago.
Yeah.
Well, not Chicago, sorry.
So Sean, for you, what's really been a big win for you this year?
I'd say I've got twofold. One is a new project that we're lining up for 2024, but I'd say like as much as I love the online, my biggest wins was getting out to a couple of big events. So going to my first, well, my recent IBS. I mean, I hadn't been to an IBS in like 15 years. So to be there with a bit more of like a thought process, but also taking, Mark's great advice is if you don't have a plan before IBS, IBS will suck your time and throw you out, and you'll walk away being like, "Oh my God, that was intense." So I had a plan. I knew the courses I wanted to attend. I knew the boost that I wanted to get to, and like if you don't know your boost, you could be walking all day long, and even too like the Tesla tunnel, so you can save 22 minutes and get like a 3-minute ride from one section to other is fantastic. So going to IBS, going to Denver, and then going to Houston for the Passivos conferences, and seeing my people. And my biggest thing in the last say 3 years is as trying to like teach people about resilient prefab homes is how to make the language be able to connect more. And so having those better words, my kind of word from I took out of Houston was stealth passive house. Is we all know like passive house sometimes is not a great phrase. People don't understand it. It does have, connections to passive house from Germany, but some people don't get it, understand it, but they understand that they want a comfortable, healthy, energy efficient building. And so understanding that I might be sliding in a bit of stealth passive house into 2024 when people don't know I'm just gonna like get them to a passive house. And even with our current clients, where everybody, no matter what I talk about or who I talk with, wants a comfortable, healthy home. And if they get passives, great. I will dive nerdy into the passive house principles and all that stuff. But if they don't quite get it, then I know I can use my stealth passive house techniques and get them to where they need to be. So that was a bit of a big takeaway, and the fact like retrofits are coming and having more conversations. I'm excited that the Retrofit Canada conference is going to be here in Vancouver in June, so I don't have to go too far to be a part of that. This will be I believe, the fourth conference, maybe third. Sorry. And so the fact that we've spent nearly 10 years of looking at passive house new builds, and yes, there's been a big trend on big passive houses. Like here in Vancouver, the Curve opened up this year, which is going to be the biggest passive house, or sorry, the tallest passive house in the world, going to be about 60 stories here in Vancouver. That's exciting. Again, we can have this whole debate about, really buildings shouldn't really go past 16 stories, but this was on the book. And so understanding the technology and the innovation happening for, we're calling it mass prefab, because they're getting these prefab curtain wall systems made in either Korea or in Taiwan and shipping them here, and then literally just erecting them and clicking them on the outside of the structure is pretty exciting. So yeah, always improving the language so I can help educate people. And those three big conferences were great because it's nice to hug and learn and share and have those after hour conversations where we can kind of get nerdy and dive deeper. So yeah, so next year I've got a really exciting project. It is a retrofit, but it's on a piece of property in Vancouver called Shaughnessy, which is a bit of a hoity-toity neighborhood that doesn't want change. And so we're doing a density project in Shaughnessy where it's going to be a mansion that's going to get converted to 3 units, going to be retrofitted to passive house, and where it has the tennis courts, that's going to end up being a triplex. So 3 prefab, prefabricated passive house units, and that's what I'm excited for 2024, as well as hanging out in some live events with you guys.
That's awesome, Sean. Aaron, if I could just jump in there for a second, just to unpack the first thing you said, Sean. For those of you or those of us who've not been to those 3 shows, you mentioned IBS, so International Builder Show in Vegas. You mentioned the FIAS or FIASCon, the FIAS
Yeah.
conference. And have you been to JLC before? JLC Live
No.
in Rhode Island?
No, I live for you guys and when you guys are there, because I can never make that, because usually in March it's spring break, and there's also the Mass Timber Conference in Portland in there too. And so when I'm looking at my schedule to sneak away, and yeah, traveling from Vancouver to Rhode Island, it's a bit of a trek. So I live vicariously through you guys, but it's definitely on the bucket list for some point.
So from your perspective, now that you're back building again, running a company, how do you sell that to other members here of this chat tonight around taking that week off? It's a big investment, fly down to a US show. Often I think Canadians look locally, but how would you encourage someone here tonight to think about going to one of those shows?
Yeah, great question. I think everyone needs to like look at their next year and be like, what do I need to learn? And part of your business philosophy should be continuous improvement. And so that means you need to figure out what you need to learn in the next year so you can improve. And we all need to be learning, even if it's the art of business or the art of construction, or in some aspects, the art of manufacturing. We were looking at some of these prefab companies. So which art do you want to improve? And my view too is like I've got a vertical learning curve. It's never going to dive down until I'm in a grave, and so I'm always trying to look at what I need to learn about and where to go. And then it's like, okay, well, where am I going to get the best bang for the buck? So number one is, what events will you go to where you'll have a best opportunity for learn? And if your goal is to just take away one thing, like that should be the bare minimum of the bar. Like I'm going to go somewhere, what one thing I learned. But when you're at IBS, you have an opportunity to learn one new thing every hour if you're not Googled of too much information. So the fact that you can, pre-plan the event you want to go to or the boost you want to see, and you can say, okay, I want to go learn X, Y, and Z. That's great. But then, I mean, then you talk about the fun factor of something like 180,000 people going to one crazy city for, I would say it's 3 24-hour stints that turn into 3 days. And if you get a nap in between those days, good on you, because you just want to keep connecting with people and methods and the learning there. So yeah, to kind of summarize your answer there, Connor, is one is, what do you want to learn? You should be learning something, and an event where a lot of people are going to go, it gives you a great opportunity that you're going to walk away with something. So IBS is definitely the top of the list for me. Again, the passive house events kind of serve 2 things. One, I get to be with I feel like my people, and in the craft that we're at, and the level of precision that people are building at when you're doing a passive house. There is I mean, for example, the video that you showcased this week with your lovely tool belt and your scissors. I was using, of course, some regular scissors that I stole from my wife out of the kitchen. And I was like, of course, why am I not using carpet scissors? Those fit in the tool pouch, that much more. And so, I've got a list of about 5 different tools that I want to test out at IBS, and they're on my list. And so I know where they're going to be. And I mean, I've literally mapped out that 3 pavilion, 3 conference center facility so I can hit them up on which days, because you don't want to be walking back and forth because you're just going to burn time. And so I've got, 5 different products that I want to go test out. And of course, yeah, I'm not having to buy it and figure it out and say I don't like it. I get to go and play with it and talk to the manufacturer and be like, oh, here's my scope of work that I'm going to use this. Is this the right tool? Because a lot of times you talk to the salesperson that, is more of on the tools kind of person at IBS. Like they see a lot of different things, and you can say, hey, here's my scope where I think I need this tool, and they turn around and go like, hey, you know what, like for you the better value would be, you know, this particular tool. And like, oh, I didn't even see that because it's like down in the catalog on the website or whatever. And they're like, oh, use this one. You're like, okay, like, so the value of the information you get there is just is amazing. Hopefully that answered your question. It was really long-winded. I got excited.
It's
I
all
can
good,
t-
man.
I can tell that means says huge value IBS. Aaron, what about you? Do you have shows you're excited
Oh,
about, different than
okay.
IBS, that you think Canadians would seek value from?
So I'm gonna hit this with uh, I'm gonna hit this from two perspectives, and I'm gonna include JLC. So as a builder, IBS just it's amazing. Um, as a builder, there's so much to see, so much to learn, so much to do. Just from just an information gathering event. And Sean mentioned it's a marathon, or maybe you didn't say it was a marathon,
It
but
is though.
in my mind, this is like a 3-day ultra marathon. You have got to keep switched on for about 72 hours and sleep on the plane on the way there, sleep on the
Yeah.
plane on the way home. That's the best way because the event during the day is nonstop. The fun factor is there, and it's important to make sure that you participate in the fun portion of things. And sometimes the conversations at the end of the day while you're having supper with somebody or having a drink with somebody, that's really where you make connections where with other people where you're going to continue to learn. Like the show is long gone. Like the show is at, the end of January, the end of February, and it's now July. You pick up the phone, you phone that person that you met, and you have a conversation about product X and how you've both applied it at your current build, and away you go. Um, so that's how I yes. Uh, now, as a carpenter, I find JLC more valuable. I find that there's more opportunities for hands-on learning, more opportunities for demonstrations that you can actually get close to. And when the demonstration is over, you can interact more easily with whoever put the demonstration on. But both shows are excellent. And for a Canadian, what I would look at is, like Sean mentioned, what do you want to learn? And then I would look at access. Okay. For myself, it's very easy to hop in the truck, get on the ferry, it's very easy to do because I'm on the East Coast. Anywhere else in Canada, it might be easier to get on a plane and, you know, you're in Vegas. So look at your accessibility, look at what it's going to cost you, and look at what you're going to want to learn. But for 2023, IBS was amazing. JLC was amazing. Um, actually, at both events, I had the opportunity to spend a bit of time on stage with Ben Bogey, who if you're watching this program, you probably is a part of the BS&BEER show and a big contributor to, well, just the building science movement in general. What else was a big win in 2023 for me? We had some killer blower door tests. It was the third annual Flash Me Day. And every year that continues to grow. But
Oh,
things
Mark,
I'm looking forward to in go ahead.
before you move on, Mark Wheeler
Sorry, I didn't hear you, Connor.
reminding you
Yeah.
that you were president of Shashko for a day.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Aaron,
Yeah.
Aaron,
Yeah.
See, this is how fast the year goes by. that was truly an amazing event, by the way.
I was able to
I would
recall that.
offer
Hold on, Mark, go ahead.
Aaron, I was able to recall that bit of information because in the R&D lab, you smuggled some maple syrup in from the Great White North, and they made a special batch of maple big stretch, and I actually ate it in front of the R&D people, which I think was a catastrophic problem during Urena's presidency, but nonetheless, it happened, and we have it documented.
it's a little known fact, but it's why I got fired as president. But no, that was an amazing trip, and an amazing event. And I would throw it out there to anyone: if you ever have an opportunity to be president of SASHCO for 5 minutes, take it. Just take it and run with it. If they give you the whole day, even better. It was a lot of fun. Yeah. Wow.
I mean,
2024. Go ahead, Sean.
Sorry, I was saying here, like you've also been able to go to some other manufacturers, facilities, and I think that's what's exciting about our trade is, we use these different products, but you just think of the team and the business and the people there. Like, I mean, people at Sashco are amazing. Like, there's not a bad bone in that whole business, and we see probably about, I don't know, 8 or 9 of them at IBS. And but to see that entire factory and the upgrades they've done, I mean, like it's an amazing machine that they have in that facility and how they create things from sales, inventory, or sorry, manufacturing, inventory, that entire process, like that entire business model that Sasha has and that you guys got to experience. And again, we got to live vicariously through you guys as you guys were running around with the keys to the office, and you also had a really important vice president that day too. So we can't acknowledge that you were only managing the helm there. So, you recently
No.
you were again another facility, and again, customs didn't catch that product you smuggled across the border. So,
No,
yeah,
no,
you had a
no.
few good factory
I
tours.
was going to allude to that in my hopes of 2024. But what I should share is a little known fact. And so once upon a time, Sashco had a basically an airborne sales team. Their salesmen all flew to locations by plane.
Wow.
So I threw it out to Sashco that if they decided to bring that back, where they were going to have flying salesmen, I would quit building and I would come to work for them. So that offer still stands. Like I would, if you're going to pay me to fly around and, try and get people to buy Lexel and Big Stretch, I'm in.
Yep.
Through the roof, I will sell that. I bet you I went through a case and a half in the last couple days.
To be fair, Aaron, I pitched them train cars, and we would travel province by province across the land, unloading train cars a big stretch.
Totally, I'm all for that too.
That's a much greener footprint, Mark.
That sounds slightly
But
less sexy.
the
Like, I'm thinking,
ambience of being in the air, I can't get away from.
yeah, I think you really can't see.
There's other crazy events, and sorry, Connor, I cut you off.
No, go for it.
There's other events in 2023 that I am forgetting and that I'm glazing over, but like the first quarter of 24 is packed.
Yeah.
It really is. And I mean, I'm still trying to build, I'm still trying to do stuff, but I'm making time for these events because I want to continue to grow. I want to continue to improve. January, we have an offsite symposium at UMB in Fredericton, New Brunswick. Really looking forward to that, see what they've got coming down the pike for how they're planning to improve offsite construction in the province. At the end of the day, I love a good stick built house, but I can only build this many a year. So how do we speed up the process? Last time I checked, we couldn't meet demand if we quit taking on new buildings in Canada right now for the next 10 years. Basically what I mean by that is if we all quit saying no and just concentrated on the projects that were tabled, 10 years before we could complete them.
Yeah.
So we've got to start looking at other options, other ways to build. So that's January. February is IBS. We've already talked in depth about this. March is GLC. And if you are in Eastern Canada, even Ontario, some friends of mine have drove from Ontario in relatively short order, I believe under 10 hours. Hit Joe Canning up, the Canadian Carpenter, or Connor. They both know how to get there quickly.
You can fly too. It's only an hour and a half to Boston.
Excellent. We're kind of out of April. Can we talk about April? Is that safe to do?
I was going to ask you if we're
I think
able
it's safe to do.
I think we should, because
I think we should.
about time.
Are you talking about the thing?
Big thing.
How
The
about
big thing.
Can we finish it with that? I want to check with some folks here about what they've seen as wins this year for themselves, whether they're small or big. You tried a new tape. You finally got your X-ray to run a blower door test, or you did your first service cavity, and your mind was blown about how easy it was to pull wire. So anyone here? I know Ben.
I'm sorry. I've got to mention one big.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Big win for 2023. BS&BEER Canada. Yeah, that's getting this off the ground view, and thank you to Lori, and thank you to Gina for Gina takes care of a lot of stuff behind the scenes that people don't see. But yeah, BS&BEER Canada getting off the ground has been I'm going to say a milestone for me. So sorry. Thank you.
Awesome, Aaron. Thanks.
Then we'll mention the other big thing.
Well, and I'll wait for Connor for people to come on, but just to come back a few more months before we get to April. So here in Vancouver, we have BuildX in February. Sorry, and then the Passive Accelerator has a 24-hour event happening on March 7th, 8th. We're going to go around the globe, 24 hours, reimagine buildings. Then while you guys will be making your way to GLC, once you guys are heading home, I'm going to head to Portland for the Mass Timber Conference. And then there might be a chance that I go across the pond to Germany for the International Passive House Conference in Innsbruck. And then we get to a special event. But yeah, if anyone else wants to come on and put their hand up about some successes that you've had or something you want to share in 2023, mic's open.
I would also love for at some point for Connor for you to share your big wins for 23 and some of your hopes and dreams for 24.
Yeah, sure. I'll give some on the floor, and then I'm happy to pick it up.
All right. Well, while we're waiting for someone to pull on the floor, I have an indoor air quality monitor beside my desk, and if anyone can read it, it's reading really bad. But that was also because my rum and eggnog was sitting in front of it. So just we were talking about how much rum I put in my rum and eggnog.
I thought you were gonna say because I'm lactose intolerant.
Yeah, no, yeah, that's later on. But I couldn't believe that so typically in my house, if the hood fan is not on, because I live right by the Pacific Ocean here, it's usually in the 90s. But at 36, not only do I need to open a window, but yeah, I should be like dead pretty quick here. So that was a bit of
Yeah,
a pause. If anyone wants to come on and talk about their exciting stuff in 2023, please let us know.
absolutely. You
All right,
can't see
Connor, it
it.
looks like they're shy. So
Okay.
oh no,
Okay.
Ben's got his hand up.
Ben.
All right, Ben. Ben's got exciting stuff. Man, there's a lot of action items that I've got for you, Ben, that are on my list. But how you doing?
I'm good. Can you guys see or hear me? I don't think my stuff's working.
Both. You're
Ken.
good, man.
Yeah, we love the
You're
background.
good.
Nice green background.
Uh,
Your indoor air quality monitor would be looking a lot better than mine would be.
yeah, yeah. When you're under renovation and your entire jungle house full of plants has to go into your office, you get pretty good air in your office. That's for sure. Um, well, you guys know me. I'm always ready to talk. But no, 2023 it's been a good year. It's been a weird year, but it's kind of funny listening to you guys talk about this and looking back on things because it's very easy to get stuck. For me, it's very easy to get stuck in like the what seems like the rut and the grind of the day to day, and to not actually realize that you are moving forward. So a year end is a really good time to take a perspective, and I'm actually glad I joined for this one tonight to do this because when I look back at where I was at this point last year, like I had not heard I had heard the term passive house. I had no idea really what it was. And thanks to Mark for being a bit of a hound dog on Instagram and being after me about this and that and the other thing and making me talk to Sean. And I was on an educational journey anyway, and I threw a lot of other stuff in it, and I've just been pursuing it really, really hard. And now I haven't seen any fruits from that labor yet, but it's been an education here, and I'm actually really, really happy and pleased to reflect back on this year and see all of the things that I've learned and done, and I'm just starting to put them into practice. So when you said your educational curve is nothing but a vertical journey, I definitely I identified with that, but I'm also terrified of all the things that I've learned and already forgotten this year too. So maybe 24 is a review year, but
Well, let's talk about that because so you took the Passive House tradesperson course, consulting course, and you've been working on some energy advising courses, correct?
I didn't do the tradesperson course. I got certified as a passive host consultant through the
Congratulations. That's awesome.
Yeah, and I did a bunch of other stuff, mostly in HVAC and whatnot. But yeah, well, I also challenged the exams for becoming an energy advisor. I'm just waiting for my probationary files to be reviewed by Enercan. But that's, I guess, the other exciting thing is I spent all the money that I had training and doing this and that. And the last big purchase was my blower door, which I've been having a ton of fun with. So there's going to be some fun stuff for me coming up in 24. I think I've got a lot of different little smoke machines and blower doors and shit to play with, So I'm looking forward to playing and just having some fun with all of this stuff. Luckily, I'm in a lucky position where the lovely people at Sega sent me a couple of pallets of stuff to just mess around with. So I know I've talked to a few of you guys through the last few months, but I'm looking for ideas of ways to do air tightness testing and stuff that's fun visually because I got a bunch of free stuff to waste. So not that we're all about waste here.
No, you're doing mock-ups and you're doing testing, and you always needed to, trust but verify. So all good. And also for people that don't know where Ben lives, he was in Kelowna, so he got to witness another massive forest fire that went through his neighborhood, and luckily your parents' place survived. But you sure got your access to a lot of burnt wood to make some cool stuff out of. So again, if you're not following Ben, following along because
I've been harvesting. We've been taking down trees that died in the fire, and we're so not only do I got a lot of free Sega stuff, I got a lot of wood. So all I need is my bandsaw mill up and running, and then we're ready to play. But yeah, thanks for inviting me on, guys.
No, it's a pleasure. And one highlight that I had from you this year was when you were trying to like finish your cabinets outside because you didn't have a shop and you had to stop because the ash coming from the forest fires was getting on your new cabinets. And so I think you had to go buy a tent or a tarp so you could try to like move it along. But I think there's like a 3 or 4 day where you just like gave up, not only because of the outdoor air quality, but just that the amount of ash falling on your cabinet doors, you just couldn't do.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, turning the front yard into a tent city because it's raining ash while you're trying to lay lacquer. That's the Kelowna way, I guess. But
yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think that's
So
another thing.
fun fact,
Sorry, just as talking about that resiliency part. I mean, the word resiliency I've kind of taken on as part of my language of learning about the passive house that did so well in Texas during the cold snap of December, January a few years ago. And Trey Farmer, who built a passive house, and for 3 days, his family lived very comfortably, and he used his barbecue to cook his food, where all of his neighbors had water pipes bursting and just tragic events that happened in Texas, and seeing his passive house and his design and then meeting him in person this year in Houston was just really cool. And so yeah, I talk about resiliency over sustainability because I think that's kind of where we are as a as a civilization. And so yeah, so the forest fires definitely touched me this year. My good friend Todd, his A-frame passive house, burnt down, and like again, the speed of how that fire raged through Kelowna was just shocking. So to all those that lost your home this year, we hope that the rebuilding efforts are in process for you, and hopefully the insurance programs are helping you out to give you a bit of a path to rebuild in 2024. So hearts and prayers are with you guys, and everywhere across North America and the world. I mean, the fires that have occurred not just in BC but across the planet. It's always shocking to see these extremes.
well, and it's going to be bad again next year because we've got no snowpack, and Alberta's been dry as a tinderbox since September. So brace yourselves, everybody. But that's not really in keeping with the spirit. I'll let you guys move on.
Yeah, no, all good.
Well,
It's
Ben, here, Ben.
just so you know, Ben,
Yes.
probably the May show, we're gonna do it live with you.
yeah, just
I'm probably gonna come to you for May, just so
yeah,
you know.
Oh, okay. Is this a everybody wants to be in Kelowna for May long kind of thing, or?
pretty much.
Maybe,
Yeah.
maybe that we'll go with that. We'll go with
We
that.
had a planning session. I was like, we're gonna hang out with Ben, and then all of a sudden you showed up today, and we're like, oh, hey, by the way, we've voluntold you to host our event in May.
Oh, okay. Good to know.
Yeah, I'll be there.
Okay, sounds good, man.
All right, Connor. We got a great update from Ben. Anyone else wants to chime in, please do so. But otherwise,
I believe Pete wants to get in on this.
yeah, Pete,
Um,
come on in. Turn your camera on. Say hello.
hey, there we are.
Hey everybody.
Hey, Pete.
Hey, Pete, how are you?
The
I've
face to
been
the
I've
name.
been
This is awesome, Pete.
I've been blasting through podcasts for like the last year and a half. Unbuild It podcast, BS&BEER, and thinking about breaking into something for Ontario for ourselves. I'm at my own house right now, but I think it's time to do it for Ontario. So it's a call, and we made an Instagram account, so that's big steps. But I want it to be trades based, and try and talk about good products, but in an unbiased way,
Yep.
because there's a lot of products that aren't available in Ontario, parts of Canada as well. And thinking about it from, cost effective, but also intelligent. So that's the big step for me. I'm excited about it, and I'm happy to be here and actually logged in for the first time. That's a success.
There you go.
That's awesome, Pete. I think
Oh, and then
Yeah.
I'm drinking a home brew because that's part of this, right?
Yep.
And anyway, glad to be here, guys.
Hey,
Awesome.
thanks for joining us.
I think Pete, you're doing the thing, which is we can read about things, we can hear about things, but until you actually try and do it or source that material, or in my case, we're building a double stud wall, and every article you read about dense pack, it's actually quite hard where we're building define a trade experience with that methodology of installation. And that might be your thing where you're building. Maybe you have heard about a detail, but you can't find the product, or you're missing the trade who's experienced doing it. It really is building up that hands-on visceral training with colleagues to say, okay, can you source that? Can you find it? Can you also do that in a reasonable timeline for a client and deliver that on budget? Or are you saying, I'm going to invest in this on my own? I'm not going to charge the client the full weight till I'm good at that. And I think you doing that with the new community is exactly what this takes.
So I'm an interior designer by trade, but I work with a structural engineer. We do small residential. And yeah, exactly like you said, I ran into that. It took a long time to find somebody that did cellulose, blown in cellulose. Everything was fiberglass, fiberglass. Ironically, the guy in the truck blowing everything in, the owner of the company, I said, you know, what's your preference? And he said, to be honest, full disclosure, I pulled fiberglass out and put cellulose in. And but we're not reading a lot of newspapers lately, so I'm wondering where the cellulose is coming from.
So
our
fun
house
fact
that's in the background
on,
here because I'm still doing some mudding
sorry
for
to
my
cut you
future
off.
office in the new year, but it's a 135-year-old house, and in some like we have some known water intrusion issues that is just not in the budget. But I was able to track down Intello, put it upstairs, keep those rim joists exposed so it is allowed to dry out because there's no sill plate, no sill gasket down there.
Yeah.
But on the upstairs, it's like a nice warm wool hat, and those rooms are nice and toasty.
That's awesome. And Pete, where are you based?
I'm in Caledonia, Blackheath, really small town, but the plan is BS&BEER Ontario, like Southern Ontario, will be Hamilton, Dundas area.
Gotcha. I mean,
Nice.
the fortunate thing for those that are not from Ontario is we're blessed to really have two big distribution centers for CGAT and 475.
Yeah.
They're right outside the GTA. Things are very accessible. CGAT, not that I'm brand agnostic, but I have a hat on today. Two trainers are in the GTA. They're the rep for 475. Is it Sean, Eastern Canada? Is that Aaron's role?
Aaron's just outside of Toronto.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're
Yeah, I got
really
Aaron.
fortunate around here to have that level of access.
Yeah. I mean, that's the key is like, and I think even Rotherblast has a rep nearby, like, you know, getting some of those European products and having that information and availability is great. And I mean, one thing I talk about this year too is I have to say there are some North American companies that are not the big names, they're, you know, the little names. They've really improved their products. And so now it's not just these European companies that we've relied on for the last 10 years. It's like, oh, these other ones have stepped up. And you're like, hey, they're like the risk of getting to below 0.6, you can actually do with some of these other products. And so it's great. The availability is key. But I appreciate too, Pete, it's just again is like that again, trial and error of everyone testing out different stuff and find which ones you like. I mean, like again, what doesn't matter what you use as long as you feel like it matches the risk level that you need to achieve the numbers you can do and that you can test and verify it and you're happy with it, make it part of your system and go for it. But just you know, go for good air tightness. It's that low-hanging fruit.
Installed correctly, right?
That's
Yeah.
that's it. And sometimes we're building a property right now, and for me, sometimes it's the small wins. We're using sort of an exterior primary air control layer. We're still doing a header wrap for continuity of interior vapor control.
Yep.
And we're using a product from CGAT. It happens to be their MyVest 200, which is comes in a 5-foot roll. The thing that's actually selling the building team on loving that product isn't about its permeability, isn't about its other factors that I get kind of big on. It's when it flaps the wind at night, it's not like Tyvek where it's like sounds like there's a jet engine flapping on the building. It is silent like a piece of silk. And that for them is just giving them clarity during the daytime, and that is worth investing in. So it's until you actually touch products, whether it's European or North American, and do it properly, it's really hard to know what the value is for your client or for your build.
And the biggest thing is being able to actually verify because, you know, and I'm going to use cellulose as an example because we all know what that is. But I was in a situation where I had a great installer and absolute trust in him. And no question, if Eddie said this was happening, it happened and it was good. And you didn't have any question, like you touched the wall and you had faith in what was going on, right? Eddie, for various reasons, left the industry, went to another industry, and we had a project where dense pack cellulose was the answer. We had to get another installer, and I had some questions as it was going on, and the language was right, and the answers were correct. But when it started to actually be installed, I had serious questions. I'd never, at that moment in time, till that moment in time, I've never actually tested density of cellulose. I've never done it. But this community we've created, I sent out a couple messages, I got on the phone, and I'm going to say within hours, I had a connection, I had a chart, I had a list of things to do, and basically an instruction of how to go about testing cellulose to see if we were at 4 pounds. And I did it, and we weren't, and we rectified the situation, and we got to where we need to be for the client. But without this community, I probably would have been at a loss.
Yeah.
You can't know everything. We can be experts in a field. We can know a little bit about everything, but there's no one person in this room that can know everything about everything. And that's the beautiful part about this. There's things that I reach out to Sean for. There's things that I've asked Connor. Connor has a unique ability to ask questions that will lead you to give the answer to give you the answer you need.
Yeah.
And that doesn't make any sense until you've had a conversation with
Yeah.
Connor. But it's elegant. That's all I'm going to say. A conversation with Connor is elegant.
It does drive my wife effing crazy. Absolutely crazy. Another question? But and Pete, we should chat at some point. My background is also interior design, and I think it shows you when we're building in built environments, it's really helpful if every member of the building team, whether that's the interior, the exterior, the architecture firm, or the building consultant, or the builder, we all know how to build a best built or a better built building. And I think interior design is this other driver of the shapes of buildings, where fenestration is, and whether the building has overhangs or not. And I think that's really minute, but it shows you that we can push this knowledge into different disciplines than just trades and then just building, because it does it's pretty powerful.
Yeah, hey, that brings up another.
I'm probably the only interior designer that will say, hey, you can always update those finishes. Anything you can touch, you can update later. You're never going to have that wall assembly open again. Do it right. Do it the smart way. I think 12 years in architecture firm, and then jumping over this way, but also having framing background, it's starting to show.
Oh,
Pete, I
good
think
on
that's
you.
just a good way of having
Good on you,
better,
Pete.
more business. You're telling your clients like, hey, this is where your budget is, but guess what? In 10 years, just hire me again and I'll give you the latest trends, and we can be able to redo it for hopefully a budget that you can, afford at that time. So that's an upsell. Don't shoot yourself short there.
Pete, I would love you in some of my conversation with past clients and designers where we were ripping exterior walls out of double brick masonry buildings in Toronto, and the desire was not to go and backframe and insulate because they wanted exposed brick, and then using steel door systems, commercial steel door systems, and right, exposed beams from outside to inside. The thermodels they're colorful. They're colorful.
Yeah, they are.
But I think you've got a beautiful background of design, background building, and now in advocacy. I think this is what we need more of.
Yeah, and
I'm proud to
adding.
be part of it, guys. We got a lot of double brick in Hamilton too. That's so I would say a third of the projects. Triple brick sometimes.
Yeah, I'm from London. It's very similar.
Wow.
Wicked.
And the brick sales are strong in Lower Ontario. So, hey, just talking about language too is, again, a good friend, Steve Basic, is talking about subtrades and eliminating the word subtrade and calling them specialists. That's something that I've done a lot this year. It's just giving more respect to the trades by talking about our team, our A team of specialists. And I know that our team, really appreciates that more respect that we've given them by, just changing that little bit of language, calling them specialists. So thanks, Steve, for again being a really good advocate for speaking better language and being being able to share all the stuff we've learned from different people. So specialists, it's a good phrase.
You're totally right. Just a quick aside, I was telling my daughter today around where we are in our project, explaining we're putting on joists, putting on subfloor, and she was then concerned about the builders, then the framers, walking on the subfloor and making dirty boot prints. And I explained, the subfloor is the layer below the finished flooring. We explained that word sub means below. And when you talk about this, right, subtrade, when you think about that, that means the trade below you. There's an order to things, but in many cases, as a GC, I know 80% of most things, but 100% of nothing. I rely on these trade partners. And that's the language we use to really be the champion and the specialist or the expert in that field. And that's how we get places to build better air tightness or mechanicals, insulation, envelope, windows. Like these are huge detail areas that we really need specialists to help us get there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny you say when below, because like when someone said that to me, I was like, yeah, but in the Gantt chart, they're above and we're working our way downward. So they're not a subtrade, they're an uptrade. So do we call them uptrades? And so then I got carried away with language. And so specialists, I think it's just a good phrase to talk to them because it's more respectful. And like I think, any day when people are loving the craft that they do, like I said earlier, when you're passionate about that particular task, to get recognized in a different light by someone else, because for years you're just always like, oh yeah, I'm a subtrade. Well, no, like you're a specialist, and I couldn't build, or we couldn't build this house without that particular specialist. People, they want to come to site because they feel like they got more respect with us. And so I was
100%.
definitely a phrase I was happy to improve in our language on our job sites.
Awesome. Well, I mean, I'll just wrap up and share briefly what we're kind of proud of this year, and then we'll get to the big announcement. So really, as an educator, I'd probably frame it in 3 different ways. So I did transition out of building full time to go back and help teach. I think what I was taught growing up. I grew up in a building business and was very fortunate to have that. But not everyone has that, at least in Ontario where I am based. And so at the trade school, we have taken a program that's really modeled after a conventional carpentry apprenticeship program, which sadly doesn't really have much building science put into it, despite carpenters building the framework of the envelope. And envelope control layers are so woven through the structure that we've taken the past few years to rebuild our program and put a building science hands-on course into year 1, year 2, and year 3. That's taken a lot of work, and we're quite proud of just that infancy of making sure that if we're graduating 100 people a year, they have seen their forced blower door for real, not on a slide somewhere, but actually physically in the shop, making sure they're at least aware of the terminology, the equipment, and what it does, so that they can be advocates for their own businesses. So that's a big win for us the past year. The next level up from there is we are hosting, and I am a trainer for Passive Canada for Ontario. We've been getting back to doing in-person workshops for the Certified Passive House Tradespersons course. That's been great to host at the college as well, to bring in builders from commercial, residential, and even just DIY people who want to learn more about the practice, to learn in a controlled setting. Again, give them exposure to the details. We bring in trade partners to help us, again, I'm not an expert in everything, to help us teach all facets of building passive. So that's been a really great thing to do. So if you want to get your certified passive house tradesperson's credential in Ontario, we are doing in person. So if you're an in-person learner, we're now doing that back in Toronto. And the last one is kind of like this idea of like giving back. I had this concept years ago about giving back. I call this like the social mortgage. I borrow from people, from yourself, Sean.
Love
And
that word.
when you borrow money, you agree on an interest rate. And when I borrow from the community, I agree on an interest rate to get back, and that for me is 4%. And one things we're doing right now is with a colleague, Travis Brungart, and those with KC BS&BEER in the US, we created a student wall assembly or student building science competition called wallassembly.com. We're now going into our 4th year. This past year in 2020, Ben Station was one of the scholarship awardees. We gave away almost $20,000 US raised from project partners, including Sashco and Alpen Windows and Beta Windows in Ontario. Amazing companies who want to give directly to the next generation, give to students. And it's a way for us to champion and support. Maybe you're the only nerd in your program who wants to talk about the vapor openness of your assembly. We're here for you. We have a place for you to be celebrated. And that's been a big thing for us to just give back to the younger community, because I extract so much from those around me. So that's really our wins. And same thing next year is learning from more people and giving back.
You know what? You talk about showing up and wanting to learn one thing. Social mortgage, that's a good phrase. So thanks for sharing that. And again, congrats to you and Travis on the wall assembly. Like you talk about, again, little things you forget this year. I love that part of the year when you guys talk about it and like, taking an idea like the basketball college and turning into a building science event. Like, I mean, that's just a fantastic of being able to borrow from other industries and other parts of the world and adapt it to us. I mean, that's a great venue, and getting the students involved is such a great event. So thanks again for you and Travis for doing it. I enjoy, and again, thanks for letting me be a part of it. I mean, I enjoy what you guys do, but to be in a part to be a review and be a judge is pretty remarkable. So,
Couldn't
all
do
right.
without you. Couldn't do without you.
Well, again, it's a big village. I mean, that's what's fun, right? Is the village that we've created and all the people that we collaborate with is impressive. And like, again, to be able to get some people that we look up as mentors and they want to do it because they feel that social mortgage to be involved. And you're like, really, you want to be involved? I'm like, yeah, like 100%. You're like, okay, well, of course we'll have you on because that wealth of knowledge will be great for the students. And then you're just around them and be like, okay, well, the students get it, but so do I. So
Yeah.
I want to be a part of these people. Yeah, that's a great event you guys put on.
Okay, Aaron.
So the byproduct of being a teacher or a mentor is that you yourself become better. Just the way it is.
Yeah, 100%.
If you are passionate about passing on information in whatever fashion, somewhere along the way, somebody is going to ask you a question that you are not going to answer for. And because you're who you are, you're going to go find that information. You're going to go learn that little piece. And that's what I mean by you yourself are going to become better. You have to grow. If you're sharing, you're growing. That's just the way it is.
Yeah. So, Aaron, before we talk about April, our good friend Mark did say an event, and I think if you did have to pick 3 events for 2020, you've got IBS in February, JLC in March. We're going to talk about April, but in November, if you want to head down south, you can head to Austin for the big Build Show live event that Mark is involved in, and that one's going to be. Again, if we all know the people that are involved in that whole event, it's going to be massive. But the end of April, where will the 3 of us and hopefully a few people here, where will we be, Mr. Aaron Jones?
Well, I'm going to say that if you were in Toronto on the 23rd and the 24th of April, you might be able to participate in a BS&BEER symposium live in Toronto. 2 nights only, ladies and gentlemen.
Yep.
And if you haven't heard, center of the world.
I can't give you the complete rundown. But 2 nights only, and more details to follow. But the 3 faces that you see here this evening, there's a good chance we'll probably be there. with some people that are probably a little more famous than us, and a good chance that some of them even know more. But basically, what it's going to be building science. There will be beer, and it's just going to be a great 2 days of education and conversation.
100%.
Looking forward to it. It's gonna be killer.
Save the date, folks. Pin that in your calendar. We're coming to Toronto.
See, if he is not from Toronto, he gets the center of the world joke.
Oh yeah.
That's a
Oh
Toronto thing.
yeah. Even me in Vancouver, we get the joke. Yeah, there's only
Awesome.
one.
All converging
Yeah. Yeah. No,
on
it's
the
gonna be
center of the universe to talk about building science.
I'm excited to have you guys in the city and hang out and learn some things and have some folks in that to come and present and share information and some wonderful sponsors and companies who want to come and help support the event, but B, they just have great product. And I think, as Pete mentioned before, it's not being about subscribing to a certain brand or ideology. It's just being exposed to just well-made things. And I think people that are, I did work for a while, I won't name them, but a Canadian apparel company for a while, that they don't call their salespeople in the store salespersons or associates. They're called educators. I do believe that most people in our industry who make building products to build better really are educators. They happen to sell you things if you agree, but they're there to kind of raise your knowledge level. And I think people at this event are going to be fantastic just for teaching you. And if you happen to like their things, great. But they're not there to sell you. They're there to really educate. So looking forward to it.
We're not going to tell you what it is, but we'll let you know. But that being said, though, is Connor, either the day before or after, maybe we could have a bit of a, for some of us that don't get to George Brown often, maybe we could get a bit of a tour of the latest and greatest that's happening at the school. I mean, I think the school there is great. I mean, I'm biased because BCIT is pretty good, but I know what you guys are doing is on par, and it's amazing what you're teaching your kids there, like the facilities and the systems and just your methodology. It is impressive. So
yeah, we should do a thing. I mean, we're quite proud of what we're doing. It's always it's an evolution. But I think there's, aside from our facility, there are some great people who teach at our school and who also just build really well. You have Laneway Suites out west. We have Garden Suites, Laneway Suites. There's some really great projects that we can just do maybe a bit of a tour and like do a school tour. That'd be really fun.
Yeah, Aaron, because I think when you went to Switzerland, one of like your favorite things there was going to Beale and seeing that school, and as much as like the other days were fantastic, that was one of your fun days too. And I mean, I know stepping into George Brown would be pretty awesome as well. So again,
well, I've been to George Brown to hang out with Connor for a portion of a day. But if we all went to George Brown, hung out with Connor, and then we took Sean out for some walnut cakes, that could be a thing.
Yeah, we can go to Koreatown.
I'm all on board.
Connor's smiling because he knows what I'm talking about.
I do. And the other thing too is our new building might be approaching completion, which is Toronto's first permanent tall wood building.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Limberlost,
So cool.
which it's the new GBC campus down on the waterfront, which will host the School of Architecture.
Whoa.
The trade school is still resides in the 1960s Brutalist building, not down on the waterfront. But that might be fun too, and that's close to where we're going for the event. So that could be a fun thing to try and line up.
You gave Ben and Pete a bit of an answer, so we're not going to tell you where, but just save the dates and keep you posted. So
I didn't say which waterfront. It could be Hamilton.
oh, fair, good point. You're right. Yeah, could be one of the Great Lakes. Well, gentlemen, that being said, it is
around the water.
it is time to take this suit on the town. So you guys are kind of wrapping up your evening, and mine's just getting started.
Ooh, good for you, Sean.
Yeah.
But yeah, tomorrow is a new day. And we have probably gone well into overtime here. But yeah, awesome. It's been a great show. I think we've announced enough for the new year. On a personal note, I haven't shared enough 2023 that I'm proud of and whatnot, but it takes a year. So, pick something, everybody, and try and attend one thing. Just pick one thing and make it better. Same as you do with a building. Pick one thing that you'd like to attend, and that you'd like to be part of, and that you to share with. Go to it. Next year it'll be 2. But get your feet wet. Try.
Yeah,
Then
100%.
like an East Coaster, right? Who takes the ferry places? Get your feet wet.
Yeah.
I love how your commute. Oh, it's not that bad. You take the boat, then the ferry, then the thing to the plane, and then you're in Vegas.
Yeah.
Yeah, lovely hanging out with you all. It's fun to chat. It's always nice to share and learn more. So it's been a pleasure being here tonight. And I can't wait to see you all soon and next year.
Yeah. And I'll thank you guys, but also want to thank your support networks that allow you guys to attend. Again, it's pretty impressive of the village that we have to do these kinds of things. So I wish all of you that are here, and especially you two and Gina, who's behind the scenes, a very Merry Christmas. And we'll see you in 2024. And as we said, action packed, but if you can't pick all of them, just pick one. So Merry Christmas, everyone.
Happy holidays, everybody.
Merry Christmas.